Fractions Lesson 2. Let's review what we talked about yesterday. We know that a fraction is a number that names part of an object or part of a set of objects. We focused mostly on this part yesterday. 1/3 of the paper strip has been cut off. We're going to add in part of a set of objects today. 2/3 of Bobby's pets are dogs. 2 out of 3 are dogs. 2/3. 1 out of 3 has been cut out. 1/3. There it is. So let's look at this hexagon. If the yellow hexagon is a whole, then we know that this red part, which would fit at the top, is 1/2. And if we were to move this in and kind of flip it a little bit, put it here, we would put 1, 2, and 3 in there. And then if we had 3, if we were to do the triangles, we would put 6 in there. So this trapezoid is 1/2 of our hexagon. Excuse me, this diamond is 1/3, and the triangle is 1/6. So there, let's see what that looks like as they pop in. You can see how you could make that work. I like how the 1/3 looks three-dimensional. 2/3 is blue and 1/3 is yellow. 3/6 or 1/2 is green. How do we know that 1/2 is equivalent to 3/6? Equivalent is a word we're adding in here. You'll see that you can see the word equal, and we know equivalent means equal. How do we know that this is equal to this, this, and this? Is we know if we flip this up here, the same amount of space is covered in those, and that makes it equivalent. They also fall in the same place on the number line. So if we were to divide our number line into halves, and then we also did sixths, you'll notice that 1/2 and 3/6 are in the same place, and 6/6 and 1 are in the same place. So anytime we have a fraction with a numerator and a denominator that are the same, that is saying it is a whole or equal to 1. Which fraction is bigger, 1/2 or 1/3? Well, obviously this one takes up more space, so I would say that the trapezoid covers more of the hexagon than the rhombus. So therefore, it is reasonable to say that 1/2 is greater than 1/3. Whenever we compare fractions that have numerators that are the same, such as 1 and 1, the fraction with the smallest denominator will be the largest piece, which is very odd and opposite of the way we think of numbers. We usually say that the smaller number is smaller, but in fractions it's actually bigger. And the reason we need to think of that is because we are splitting it into that many pieces. So this is 2 pieces versus 3 pieces. So obviously this one would have to be bigger. How do I compare fractions with the same denominators? So that is the bottom number. Let's wait for our circles to catch up with us here. So at the top row I have 1/6 is red, and in the bottom row I have 2/6 are red, and in the next row I have 3/6 are red, and in the next row, I'll bet it is 4/6, boys and girls. Definitely, there we go. 4/6 are red. And keep going here. What do you think? 5/6 are red. So I'm guessing we're going to have one more row and all of them will be red. All right, so as you can see, when the denominators are the same, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, the fraction with the largest numerator has the largest value. So 6/6 is bigger than 5/6, and 5/6 is bigger than 4/6, and 3/6 and 2/6 and 1/6, so on. So if fractions have the same denominator, bottom number, then you just look at the numerators and you make them a greater than, less than statement, just like what we're used to doing with our whole numbers. So 5/6 is greater than 4/6. So is it reasonable to say that 2/3 is greater than 1/2? All right, well, we look at it here. 1/3 and 1/3 is 2/3, and look at how much space it takes up compared to 1/2. What do you think? Do you think it's bigger? It looks larger, but they don't have the same numerator, and they don't have the same denominator. So how are you going to know for sure? Well, this is what you do when both the numerators and the denominators are different. So now I can compare 2/3 and 2/4 because they have the same numerator. So I took this and I redrew it over here, and then I split it in half because 1/2 and 2/4 are the same. They take up the same amount of space. And I have 2 over here. So my numerators are the same, 2 and 2, but my denominators are different. So I know when those are different, that the one with the smaller number is bigger. And you can see that 2/3 takes up more space than 2/4. When comparing fractions with like numerators, such as 2/3 and 2/4, we know the fraction with the smallest denominator will be the largest piece. So sometimes you're going to have to do that and redraw some lines to help you figure it out and see which one takes up the most space. All right, so let's talk about fractions of a group. This bouquet has 6 rosebuds, and I see that 3/6 or half of the roses are red, and 2/6 or 1/3 of the roses are purple, and 1/6 are yellow. And let's try that again with the circle. There are 8 circles or counters. There are 8 counters in this set. What portion of the counters are yellow? So if I have 8, I see that there are 2, so that would be 2/8, or 1/4 of the counters are yellow because 2/8 and 1/4 are equivalent. When fractions like 2/8 and 1/4 have the same value, we call them, remember, equivalent fractions. All right, so let's go to our practice page and let's find this activity. This is the fruit Jeremy has in his refrigerator. An apple, an orange, a pear, an apple, and an orange. And I believe on your paper they don't have the pictures. They just tell you what they are. 3 apples, 2 pears, 1 orange. The pears represent what fraction of Jeremy's fruit? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of fruit, and I have 2 pears, so I have 2/6. So on the line next to pears, write 2/6. The apples represent what fraction of Jeremy's fruit? I have 1, 2, 3 apples, so 3 out of 6. On the line next to apples, write 3/6. All right, so on to the next problem on your practice page. If you had 2 equal size strips of paper and you cut half off the blue one and a third off the pink strip, which color strip would have the largest portion remaining? Whoops, sorry. Go back to that. All right, so on your paper you should have one that is marked with a half line and one that is marked with a third line. And remember that if the numerators are the same, but the denominators are different, we know that the largest one is the denominator with the smaller number. So 1/2 would be the largest portion remaining. So you would write 1/2 next to your strips of paper for that question. What fraction of each hexagon is blue? And on your paper you have hexagons that are white and then they have a shaded in portion. So under A, we would write 1/2, B, 1/3, C, 2/3, D, 3/3, or you could write 1 because all of it is, that makes it a whole number 1. All right, that's where we're going to end today.